Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Can we talk about Frankenstein, bro?
What, the guy or the mom? Alright, first thing, did you actually read the book?
I think I did.
Wait, were you, like, lost or something?
Lost. More like Paradise Lost. Like the epic poem.
Well, but what does that have to do with Frankenstein?
Well, in the novel Frankenstein, Mary Shelley references Paradise Lost by John Milton to show that although the monster is a unique, singular creation like Adam, he's also forsaken by his creator, causing him to seek revenge like Satan. Ultimately illustrating, this is the theme right here. This is the piece of the theme.
Okay.
So take notes. This is important.
Okay. All right.
That the cycle of betrayal between a creator and their creation can be devastating to both figures, and in the end, lead to their decimations.
Oh, that's good. So you
Yeah.
kind of thought that the book had some strong messages about creation.
Yeah, the monster explicitly says on page 139 that, like Adam, I was apparently united by no link to any other beings in existence about his creation. This quote goes along with lines 28 to 31 from Paradise Lost, where Milton writes, "Say first what cause moved our grandparents in that happy state, favored of heaven so highly, to fall off from their creator and transgress his will." Milton highlights in this quote the early state of humanity, how they came from the highest of highs. Adam also falls from these same heights, eventually after being tempted.
But isn't that different from the monster since he was abandoned at birth?
Exactly. This is where Satan comes in, the enemy of humanity and ultimate rebellious creation. Also on page 139 of Frankenstein, the monster reflects on not just Adam, but Satan as well, saying, "Many times I considered Satan as the fitter emblem of my condition. For oft, like him, when I viewed the bliss of my protectors, the bitter gall of envy rose within me."
Whew, dang, that's tough.
Yeah, for sure. But listen to this. In Paradise Lost, Milton writes on lines 39 to 42, "Set himself in glory above his peers, he trusted to have equaled the Most High, if he opposed, and with ambition him against the throne and monarchy of God." Satan is shown similarly to the monster, to be extremely jealous of those who have it better than himself. And although the monster sees the de Lacys as his protectors, he quickly admits he feels extreme jealousy for their lifestyle, which probably leads to some resentment and perhaps further influences him to burn their house down once he realizes he can't live their life. These parallels begin to form the basis on which both characters will continue forward in a somewhat coordinated manner.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I need some more convincing because I'm trying to get an A on this project.
Another big similarity between these two texts is the depths, both literally and figuratively, in which both Satan and the monster are thrown by their creators. On page 109, when the monster is initially speaking to Frankenstein, he describes his early life, saying, "Wait, let's just watch it happen." The monster is left by Frankenstein and leaves his first few days in torturous conditions with no one to watch over him. His life becomes a living hell, which happens to be also where Satan ends up, except much less figuratively. Sadly, he has been betrayed by Victor the very moment he takes his first heaving breath.
So it seems like there's a connection there, but I still cannot get my center-hitter connection with Shepard Spidell.
Yeah, bro, lock in. Back to Paradise Lost. After Satan eventually leads his rebellion against heaven, he is defeated and punished for his betrayal by God. He slides all the way down to hell, which reminds me of the athletic beast Seathorpe's unstoppable slide last year.
Unstoppable.
It was, we'll put a clip in for you to see. Milton writes of this abyssal fall on lines 70 to 74. "Such place eternal justice has prepared for those rebellious. Here their prison ordained in utter darkness, and their portion set as far removed from God and light of heaven."
Okay, walk me through that quote.
Okay, so Satan's punishment is described as an eternal abyss, as far from anything light as can be. In this way, both the monster and Satan are pushed to their doom by their creators. Although I think we can agree, Satan, honestly, he kind of deserved it more since he kind of betrayed God in the first place, However, emerging from the darkness of hell and lonely wilderness are two souls set ablaze by the infernos of their hatred and stoked by their creator's oblivious choices.
Okay. We get it that they have similarities, but I still think you need to connect that back to your original statement about, betrayal and devastation and all that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're right. I want to get to one of the most important similarities before delving into the decimation part. Toward the end of the monster's monologue to Victor, he questions on page 182, "Are you to be happy while I grovel in the intensity of my wretchedness? You can blast my other passions, but revenge remains." This quote perfectly captures the intensity of the monster's want for revenge against his creator. He has been dealt a life that, in one way, is a blessing because of the impossibility of it, but in another way, it's a curse because he's been made an outcast with no hope but for isolation.
Why? What a stupendous observation.
Thanks, but I'm still going. Because Satan is another important piece of this hateful puzzle.
Okay.
Lines 254 to 255 and 262 give us these quotes from Satan. "The mind is in its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. Better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven." Satan's dialogue here gives us the impression of resignation.
I mean, that seems unlikely. Like, according to Christianity, isn't the dude the final boss? So how can he be resigned?
I meant it more in a way that he's resigned to being the king of hell, if you will. He understands that he will never be the heavenly kind of God he once wanted to be, but now he can be the will of his own kingdom of evil and depravity.
Okay. That makes a bit more sense. Yeah. But it was like if T. Dunham explained it to me with his unmatched analysis skills.
Yeah. I wish it was like T. Dunham, Now, one last part that is also important. It can be assumed that the monster came to a similar consensus in his own life. He understands how he will never be loved or respected by the general public, but maybe he can have a companion one day if Victor will grant him one. But we both know how that goes, so yeah, no. This all accumulates to the revenge and decimation part. Frankenstein and Satan both not only desire but seek revenge against their creators, and oddly enough, they actually attempt to achieve this in a similar way.
And what would that be?
I don't know. Well, indirectly it seems. Satan chooses to seek revenge by targeting God's most beloved planet, Earth, and his fallible inhabitants, humans. On the flip side, the monster sees that the best way to hurt Frankenstein is not to outright kill him, but to slowly chip away at his spirit by mutilating his loved ones, like Elizabeth, Henry, and William. Although this does not have much to do with my point, it ultimately hammers home the connections between the two vengeance-fueled demons. As for the decimation promised in my thesis, in the end, it is clear. Both Frankenstein and his ill-fated monster meet their demise in the frigid climate of the north. As for Satan and God, well, who knows? According to some, to this day they are still duking it out with Earth as their battlefield, with naught but pain to show for it.
I mean, I love that vocabulary there, and I can understand where you're coming from, kind of. But when I prepared for this podcast, I took the book in a completely different way.
What? How?
Well, I mean, I was definitely focused on a lot more of Victor than you did. You kind of talked more about Satan and the monster.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's good, I guess, because then we get to see multiple characters and multiple interpretations.
Exactly. All right, thesis time. I think that the poem Prometheus Unbound by Percy Shelley showcases Prometheus's influence on the character development of Victor Frankenstein seen in Mary Shelley's book, Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Which highlights that while destruction is a necessary evil, resolution and liberation from fear and revenge leaves behind an era of peace and enlightenment.
I mean, that's pretty vague. I can't want to say it's a defensible interpretation.
Okay, anything can be defended if you try hard enough. Check out this emotion that Victor has in the scene. He literally thinks he's cursed, like on page 167. Roll the clip.
Yeah, but that doesn't connect with anything.
Oh, but it does. In Prometheus Unbound, Prometheus also explains how he was filled with, quote, scorn and despair. These are mine empire, end quote. Both Victor and Prometheus believe that they are being chased by a curse of destruction, imbued on them by some otherworldly power. They see themselves as hopeless and lost with no hope for redemption. This shows that while there are going to be lows in life, it is a needed concept in life, which I talked about in my defensible interpretation.
We're talking about different things, but your stuff doesn't sound positive at all. I don't know where that comes in from your thesis.
All right, just wait. We gotta talk about Victor and Prometheus like being perseverant through their tough times.
What does that do with anything?
All right, literally, Victor says on page 236 that I have myself been blasted in these hopes, yet another may succeed. This is literally demonstrating that he is gaining trust back in society. He had no hope of success at all and was ready to curl up and die trying to capture the monster that ruined his life. But now, Walton has restored some faith in humanity towards Victor.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, it's kind of similar to Prometheus, who was tied up to a rock, a cliff, and still had reason to continue living. Like when he says, no change, no pause, no hope, yet I endure. You can still see that the idea that they are still mentally and emotionally wrecked, but they themselves are starting to believe that hope is possible in life and humanity as well as themselves, they can still be saved, which is overall like illustrating that they as characters are taking their first step towards their own rescue and from the evil.
So, what you're saying is...
Wait. Is that a T. Dunham reference?
No, I'm just trying to show that on an attentive listener.
Okay, buddy. I think we should talk about how Victor and Prometheus begin to shift their perspectives.
Explain.
Well, you know how the college board controls everything in this class, AP Lit, but some students out there still blame Mr. Dunham?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Well, both Victor and Prometheus are like the highly intelligent students like us in the class who recognize that their torture doesn't come from the things that they see, but stems from a higher power, the college board. In the poem, Prometheus sees that, quote, his beak in poison, not his own, tears up my heart, showing that he knows that he is being forced to suffer, not from the bird, but from the gods above who have placed the poison on his beak.
But what about Frankenstein? Victor always just thought that the monster was the issue.
Exactly. But the monster wasn't the problem, and Victor recognizes this too, which we can see when you dig a little deeper, just like an Andrew Fuller scoop dig. On page 214, he says, let's just act this one out too.
Interesting. Tell me more.
Okay, so in the two quotes, you can clearly see that both are recognizing their torture, and how their endless suffering also stems from something that they can't directly see. For Prometheus, he realized that the bird wasn't the one that was destroying him. Like that wasn't the real issue. It was the poison that had been put on his beak from the gods above. For Frankenstein, he initially blamed it on his monster that he himself created for being the root of his issues, but now he's finally realizing that the monster was never as miserable as he was. He's beginning to understand that his own creation and self-inflicted isolation is the thing that is causing him all of this sadness.
Okay, you're starting to convince me a little, but they still haven't magically forgiven their attackers.
Okay, just let me tell you one last thing.
Sure.
The characters, repentance, and relinquishment of revenge.
Those were some big words.
Okay, just nod and pretend you understand.
Okay, yeah.
Firstly, Prometheus, he's pretty easy to understand because he explicitly says that, for I hate no more, as then ere misery made me wise. The curse once breathed on me I would recall.
I get that he's forgiving and calling all the evils that he has done. And he talked about that he was done with hating people.
Exactly. But for Frankenstein, we kind of have to talk about that and discuss a little more.
Oh no, hopefully it's not as long as Andrew Fuller's talk after our Lost Designs last year.
Just prepare
that was experience.
Yeah. Just prepare yourself. On page 235, Victor here explains that, think not, Walton, that in the last moments of my existence, I feel that burning hatred and ardent desire of revenge I once expressed. But I feel myself justified in desiring the death of my adversary.
How does that prove anything? You say you still want to kill a monster.
Yes, but while Prometheus is forgiving all, because he directly states that in the poem, that he forgives the curse and acknowledges that it had actually made him stronger and wiser. Victor here explains that Walton shouldn't worry about him in the afterlife, because he is actually free of his fear and his evilness that he once expressed. And also, he is additionally claiming that he is justified in wanting the death of his monster. While you may be confused there, it is, I understand it is complicated, but we can actually see that Victor has acknowledged his moral complexity and the cleansing of his beliefs through Victor's proclamation of clarity and resignation from life, proving his intellectual evolution as he admits that the monster may have bested him, but Victor can still wish for his destruction.
So, you think that Victor and Prometheus both start off as hateful, then persevere through the struggle while discovering things about themselves and the world around them, which shifted their perspective?
Yeah, and
they finally came to the understanding that hate would get them nowhere, and in Victor's case, simply understanding himself and admitting defeat to the monster, which illustrates his rediscovering of moral purity?
Exactly. So while we kind of talked about different things, we still have the ability to discuss and understand different interpretations of the book.
I mean, I would low-key say mine is more intellectual, but yours isn't bad for someone like you. I mean, someone like you who only got a 93 on the FRQ, actually got a 95, so.
No one cares about that. Okay, reset here. So overall, maybe the real monster isn't creation.
It's the abandonment,
Or revenge.
or pride.
So, Frankenstein.
Like the guy or the monster.